A long-standing conflict existed between the French and the English, with most of the initial clashes unfolding in Europe. However, this struggle eventually extended to the Americas. A key point of contention that fueled this rivalry was the Ohio River Valley. Let's examine how this came to be. As you can see on this map, the British colonies appear in blue, and the French colonies appear in yellow. A fundamental difference existed between French and English colonial settlements in the Americas. English colonists often permanently settled in these colonies, seeking to forge a new life. In contrast, the French presence was largely focused on trade, particularly the lucrative fur trade. Consequently, their relationship with the land differed. The English saw value in land ownership for farming and livelihood, whereas the French prioritized access for trading purposes. Though both French and English colonies existed in America, no clearly defined boundary separated these empires. When English colonists received charters to settle in America, the granted land theoretically extended from the Atlantic coast all the way westward. This meant Pennsylvania and Virginia, in theory, stretched to California, even if the vastness of the continent wasn't fully understood. This ambiguous land ownership became a source of conflict. Both Virginians and Pennsylvanians could claim the Ohio River Valley, citing the original royal charters. The Ohio River Valley holds particular significance due to its fertile land, ideal for agriculture. This made the area highly desirable for English colonists in Pennsylvania and Virginia seeking expansion, land distribution, and economic opportunity. George Washington, our first president and a prominent military leader, performed his first professional role as a surveyor, someone who defines property boundaries. Expeditions were sent from Virginia to survey the Ohio River Valley, a disputed territory. Their goal was to divide and sell the land even amidst questions of ownership. Tensions between France and Britain over this contested land escalated. In fact, George Washington led a contingent of Virginian militia into what is now Pennsylvania. A minor skirmish, known as the Battle of Jumonville Glen, ensued. Tragically, the French ambassador was killed. This painting depicts the confrontation, with Virginian colonists approaching French forces. The French accused Washington of assassinating their diplomat, further inflaming tensions. This localized conflict ultimately transformed into a global war between Britain and France, fought across Europe, the Caribbean, Asia, and, of course, North America. A small skirmish sparked by a land dispute ignited a worldwide conflict. The war wasn't progressing well for Britain, partly due to a lack of focus on the North American theater. In response, the British Parliament instructed the colonies to collaborate and develop a plan to resist the French threat. This wider conflict, known in America as the French and Indian War, pitted the British and American colonists against the French and their indigenous allies. While the British expected the colonies to devise a self-defense strategy, the colonists themselves were hesitant. A meeting was held in Albany, New York, where a plan for mutual defense was proposed. However, the colonies ultimately proved reluctant to fulfill its requirements. The plan itself was ultimately rejected by Parliament. A key takeaway from the Albany Plan episode was the profound disunity among the colonies. Several factors contributed to this. Firstly, as this map illustrates, most of the fighting occurred in the north. Southern colonies felt geographically distant from the conflict and less inclined to offer aid. The vast distances within North America at the time further exacerbated this perception. Southerners viewed the northern colonies as distinct entities, even regarding them as foreigners with whom they shared little common cause. Recognizing the need for a more focused approach, Britain shifted its attention to the North American theater and deployed troops to the colonies. This troop surge proved decisive, turning the tide of the war in Britain's favor. Their victories over the French in North America ultimately contributed to their overall triumph in the wider 7 Years' War, a global conflict spanning 7 years, 1756 to 1763. The Treaty of Paris in 1763 formally concluded the war. The treaty awarded Britain a vast territory east of the Mississippi River, with the exception of Florida, which became a Spanish possession. France ceded all its remaining North American holdings west of the Mississippi to Spain. This outcome effectively eliminated the French colonial empire in North America, a significant loss that fueled French resentment towards Britain. The French and Indian War, while securing British victory in North America, also sowed the seeds of discontent that would later blossom into the American Revolution. The next 4 lecture segments will explore 4 key consequences of the war that fueled tensions between the colonies and Britain. The rise of nascent American nationalism, resentment towards British Indian policy, taxation without representation, and a widening gulf of distrust between the colonies and Britain. Please proceed to answer the questions in the assignment on Canvas. If you have any questions, you can post them in the open forum discussion or contact the professor using Canvas email.